I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
This episode we are touching on two separate DC animated movies. One that came out the end of last year, The Death of Superman, and then one that came out the beginning of this year, which is The Reign of the Supermen. And we're going to break both of them down and give our shitty analysis on them in our reviews.
Welcome to Comic Movie Marks filler.
Right. What can we do?
Well, we got something hopefully planned big, so hey, in between, let's do a little bit of filler, and let's talk about something that no one cares about right now because it's already come and gone. So what the fuck? Let's do it.
Yep, I'm thinking the over-under is maybe 200 views on this.
Yeah, and it's still 4 dislikes.
Right. Yeah, somehow. I swear, I'm pretty sure people have subscribed to us just so they know when we post a video, they can dislike it. I'm like, you motherfuckers. Oh, well, it's a sub, so.
Yeah, man, fuck it. You're still clicking on the video. You still got to power through that first ad.
Right.
So I guess we'll talk about the Death of Superman to kick this thing off. This pretty much is a Superman that comes from the Justice League War, the Throne of Atlantis Justice League movies. So they kind of carrying these characters over into this little series of the Death of Superman. So he still doesn't have his underwear on the outside. Yay, for now.
Right. Yeah, it's like the new 52 look almost. They did a really good job with this, I thought. And I also like that this is an updated version of the classic Death of Superman story. It's still got Doomsday in it. I thought it was really well done, except now, as Matt said, the Justice League is in it. And so they incorporate the Justice League, and it's also an established Justice League, which I thought was really cool. Lois and Clark are dating. They also have the big reveal of, Clark telling Lois that he's Superman. The Flash is getting married to Iris, so they're together. Batman has a son, which is Damian, so he's in this. Jonathan Kent is alive. A lot of different things. So it is the classic story, but updated and with some details that are changed. So I thought it was pretty cool.
No jobbers in this one, like in the comic. They have the full squad out there. They don't have jobbers like Blue Beetle and Guy Gardner getting wrecked.
Right.
Alien Supergirl. I always forget what the fuck she is. Supposed to be an alien or a clone. I always fucking forget every time we've talked about this. I always forget. I just remember she turns to freaking goo after Doomsday wrecks her right in the beginning. Lex has changed up. He's back to his bald, tanned version of this with a very odd voice actor. I thought that was an interesting choice in voice actor. And this is actually Lex Luthor, I believe, in this one, not Lex Luthor Jr., like the comic. So that's a little bit more of a difference as well.
You can tell with this version, they are trying to play, I guess, more respects to the classic Richard Donner type. Even I'll get into some stuff with the Reign of the Supermen as well. But it goes back to more of a classic Lex Luthor. The sound is very similar. The score is very similar.
I didn't know what you meant.
Yeah,
sound.
I don't know where the sound came from. But
speakers.
Yeah, so the score is very similar. It's more classic, kind of like the animated Superman. That we once got. They're definitely going back a little bit more to that. I was looking for some things that stood out as maybe an homage to the current DCEU that we have, or lack thereof. I didn't find a whole lot. Even with some of Superman's quips, something that almost belonged back in the 70s and 80s.
There's some homages. There's the way he fights. Obviously, everybody's using this now. Supergirl used it. The animated movie uses it, but the punch. I think even Shazam teased it a little bit in the trailers as well. But, when he's punching him and they're kind of doing that over-the-shoulder look, camera work and stuff, that was in the Death of Superman. I don't know. This one kind of bugged me a little bit in some of the things. It's that they were trying to play both sides of the field, I felt like, on that one. Because there's a couple things he says that I feel are directly aimed against what Snyder started with Superman. And then there's some moments where you're like, okay, that's very similar to the Superman we did get. And they're playing like both ends. And watching this animated movie started making me think like, will we ever get a real Superman again? Because even in the live action versions, are they just going to be such a mishmash? Are they going to try to please everyone? And that's kind of how I felt what they tried to do with this animated movie was please everyone. They're going to try to throw a couple homages in there for the Snyder fans. They're going to throw a couple things in there for the Donner and the classic Superman style. I kind of felt like this is leading up to something where a future Man of Steel or Superman movie in general might just be a hodgepodge of random shit, and we're not going to get a really good character story like a lot of us want.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing with this, even though we got a lot of the relationship with Clark and Lois. That was kind of the main thing. And then obviously Doomsday and what Luthor's trying to do. But it was kind of just a mishmash of whatever kind of thrown into this. So I didn't feel as the death of Superman was like the main catalyst of this, because you did have, as you mentioned, the A players for the Justice League kind of in this. So there's a point, you know, when Superman is in the battle with Doomsday, you have to completely nerf the Justice League so that Superman and Doomsday can fight, and then he can die without, you know, almost being interrupted. And then here comes the Justice League, like last second of like, hey, here we are. Oh, dang, he's dead.
Darn, we missed it.
Right. Yeah. And then even a lot of the comedy in this, and that's to be expected with the animated movies. But as I was watching it, it definitely felt that, as I said, like it was something probably that the majority of the broader audience would have wanted to see, you know, with obviously the DCEU. A lot of, I mean, there were quips coming from every which direction between Green Lantern and Superman and Flash. And some funny things, like they mentioned Batman has a meeting at Damian's school, and they're like, oh, are you a part of the PTA? Do you have a PTA meeting? You know, and like, do you run those things? And so I thought it was pretty funny. They were funny jokes, but I couldn't help but think while watching this, like, I bet this is what a lot of people were expecting. Fortunately for us, for Snyder fans, we got something a little more deep and character driven, but I think they wanted to kind of play in this surface.
So then most recently we got the reign of the Supermen. Very interesting that they decided to go this route, because with the old Doomsday Superman story, they kind of simplified everything into a compact story. Death of Superman, and then we had one clone Superman that was cloned by Lex Luthor come back, and then he beats that Superman, yay, saves the day. Still had an awesome mullet, still had the black suit. In this one, we get that full hodgepodge that we got in the comics. We got Cyborg Superman, we got the Eradicator, we got Clone Superboy, and we got Steel, played by Shaquille O'Neal.
Damn it, you stole my line.
Get your general car insurance, man. I have a terrible Shaq impersonation.
I don't know. That's pretty good. Better than what I could do.
General insurance, man. The general's got you. Have you ever seen that in Family Guy?
White trash rates from an army guy. Here is a penguin, don't know why.
The General Car Insurance. It'll worry whoever you hit.
Yeah, so this is what we got. We got that full hodgepodge list of characters from the original comic. And I was actually kind of surprised that they, for the most part, started sticking to that storyline fairly well. They did change some things up. It did detour about halfway through the movie into something of their own for the most part. From what I remember, I could be wrong, but from what I remember, in the beginning, though, I was very surprised how authentic it was towards the comics, and it kind of lived up to those for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. I was pleasantly surprised with how well they tied in a lot of things. They definitely updated a lot of it, you know, to kind of fit where the direction they were going. But yeah, a lot of the origins of all these characters fit exactly from the comics. So I thought that was pretty cool. There were times where I felt like it was a little all over the place for the reign of Superman. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the action. But there was a lot going on, and bouncing back and forth as to who you thought was supposed to be the main, I guess the main driver, and which was ultimately Cyborg Superman, and then you find out he's Hank Henshaw. Ultimately, like where you thought it was going to go based on him kind of, wanting to fit in with and pretend, I am Superman so that he could take over. But then they focused a lot on Superboy and him and his relationship with Lex. And then you get a little bit more with Steel and him being John Irons. And so there was kind of a lot going on, which I feel like is it's obviously easy to pull off in the comics, because they're episodic, as opposed to this where you're trying to cram it all into an hour and a half long movie, animated movie at that. So I still enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. I also enjoyed how they stuck really closely to the comics, and a lot more Richard Donner stuff was incorporated in this. You had the Donner ship, you had the Fortress of Solitude, you had the crystal that Superman eventually stabs into the head of.
Real quick, I hate to interrupt you, but that's the great. You won't kill me. No, I won't. Crystal right in the head.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even sure really what happened, because then it like flashes to Hank Henshaw and he's like alive, and then somehow he ends up dying anyways. So I'm like, what? I was totally confused. It like I don't really know.
He just stabbed a motherfucker. Right. He just went prison shiv on him. All right, That was it. That was it. And I couldn't believe that. I'm not gonna kill you, Hadoosh. Oh, look, you disrupted the connection between him and Darkseid. I don't want to get too much in the negatives, and I don't want to jump too much ahead, but this Darkseid is supposed to be tied in to the one that happened in Justice League War. But this is like a completely different Darkseid. He has his eyes. He's not as big, and it's a completely different Darkseid. So I thought this was supposed to be tied into those previous Justice League movies. But
I'm almost positive it is, because if you there's a line, I think, in Death of Superman that talks about the battle that they had with Darkseid, and how eventually he ran off or whatever the line is. I can't remember what they say, but yeah, they talk about that. So you're like, oh, okay, it's obviously again more established, and yeah, Justice League War has happened, and and then all of a sudden, like you said, he's got both eyes. He's a lot smaller. Like the Darkseid in Justice League War is badass. Like he's huge, and this he doesn't really. I don't know. He doesn't really do a whole lot.
There's one little thing that I did think was very cool, and whether or not it's an homage or it's them trying to tell us something, I don't know, but the rumor was that in the Snyder Cut of Justice League, Superman would kind of get tempted by Steppenwolf to join his side, and he would see a vision of Darkseid. And when Hank Henshaw, Cyborg Superman, now this isn't necessarily the same Superman, but he's getting mind-fucked for a moment, and they kind of go through his eyes, and then you see an image of Darkseid. And then later on, he fucking has full-on connection. He's connected by AOL or whatever, and he's talking to him all the time, instant messenger. But before that, it was a cool little thing how they kind of just went into his mind and saw this image of Darkseid and like all this fucked up shit. And I was like, now I could be stretching things. I don't know. But I thought that was kind of a cool little hint maybe towards what we would have seen in the Snyder Cut. I don't know. I'm stretching. I want to see the Snyder Cut.
No, I agree. I think there were a couple moments in this where I was like, man, either I thought to myself that would be really cool if they incorporated it in Snyder Cut, in the Snyder Cut, or was this the direction that maybe they wanted to go at some point? There was quite a bit where I'm like, man, that would have been really cool to, incorporate some of these clones or things like that into Justice League, or, what direction, what were they planning on going, or was Snyder ultimately going to go, with his 5-movie thing that he had going.
Arc, not a thing.
Yeah, sorry. That word, yes, sound.
Words are stuff.
Yes, exactly. There were aspects of this movie that I enjoyed. I did feel a little bored at times, which was kind of odd. The stuff with the black suit Superman, and how he got brought back, and I thought that was pretty cool, and would have been sweet to see that incorporated into Justice League. So there was definitely some cool aspects in both of these. movies that I thought were pretty entertaining, and I'll definitely, it'll be ones that I'll revisit, but probably not ones that I was blown away with, similar to Justice League War.
Yeah, some of the things that kind of jumped the shark for me at the end there, when I was saying at first it seemed like they were pretty loyal to the comics for the most part, but then afterwards, like the Eradicator, if I remember right, he was supposed to be more of a robot, and it was supposed to be something that could, shapeshift, but in this it's just a hologram or something, and they never really quite explain how he was able to fly around and do all the stuff that Superman could do, and also shoot lasers out of his hands. I mean, he seemed like an upgraded version.
Right, but yeah, exactly. But still be a hologram, and yeah, it's kind of interesting.
And then be completely useless at the end, like he didn't really do anything. They didn't have him help or anything. I don't know. It was very odd how they were doing that, and I don't know if it was just like a projection of Clark into this hologram. I don't know. It was weird. So it was just some nitpicking things. They had the people being seduced into having power, and so they could just be a teleportation device for a boom tube. And I mean, I don't know what all of a sudden this connection issue he has with getting here to Earth. In Justice League War, he got here just fine. Now he needs like 100 zombie fucks to connect around, and this planet is yours. Like, I thought that Darkseid. Anyway, he's our hero. He's gonna take the planet down to 0.
Oh man, I thought that part was pretty cool and interesting. How all of a sudden their arms start stretching and they're like screaming in agony.
It seemed like a Brainiac thing.
They had to like link together. Yeah, it kind of did. But I thought it was pretty cool. But then all of a sudden it was like they just pretty much shut the door on him. It was like, no, and then the people fall and now he's stuck.
That's what happens to Mormons when you close the door on them. Darkseid the Mormon. Anyway, so let's rate these two movies.
Oh shit! I don't even think about it.
Well, that tells you what we think about this movie.
Right.
If you have the DC Universe, they're part of your package anyway. Go ahead and check them out. The Reign of Superman one, the beginning, I thought was actually quite interesting. I thought because of how loyal they were to the comics, and they had all the different characters: Superboy, Cyborg Superman, Eradicator, and Steel. But then the ending kind of just falls apart. The Death of Superman, again, more loyal. They still have the jobbers like before, like Blue Beetle and Guy Gardner, and whatever the fuck gooey Supergirl clone thingy is. But I thought that one was the better movie out of the two, The Death of Superman. I think that one held up a little bit better. The second one, this Reign of Superman one, I don't know. I didn't care for it that much. It was cool. Again, like you said, comics are episodic. Obviously, they come out with so many different issues. I remember even, I believe in the 90s, wasn't there like 4 different versions of Superman comics being made to fill in this story?
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah,
and they had time. I specifically remember Steel, but they had time to kind of go into and kind of give you a background on some of these characters, and they went months where Superman didn't exist in the comics, and then they were able to branch off and kind of have all these different things. I remember as a kid I had a book, and it wasn't like a graphic novel. It was a legit book that was thick as hell, at least from what I remember. It could have been 200 pages for all I know, but hey,
that's pretty fucking big.
but it went into different details on kind of everything that was going on with all these different characters. But I think it's easier to do in like a written thing as opposed to an hour and a half type movie. Maybe if it was actually a live action, or they were like, hey, let's do a 2 hour and 15-minute long movie, which I don't think I could have put up with it for this one. But you have a little bit more time to establish some of these characters, but it just felt so crammed for an hour and a half. And as far as The Death of Superman, I definitely think it was the better of the two. I enjoyed it, but I still prefer the 2007 one.
Yeah.
Even
though that's not loyal to the comics at all.
Right. Yeah.
In any way.
Yeah. They just kind of like pick some pieces out and then say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But I don't know. I enjoyed the 2007 one a lot. Both of these were really cool. Unfortunately, Matt and I didn't get a chance to go to the showing. I think there were like 1 or 2 maybe. Where they had these playing back to back. at one of our local theaters.
I wouldn't pay for this shit.
Yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of glad that it was just a part of the subscription. I got to do it, you know, on my own time. And but yeah, they're decent. If you have the DC universe, I'd say check them out.
For sure. Definitely check them out and enjoy, I guess, for the most part. In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.